Cool. So we've got our pocket interfacing. What we're going to do today is interface the front pieces, and we're going to sew the darts in the front as well. Okay. So you've got number 3, grain line. So if you've cut them on straight grain with your interfacing, you'll have 2 of those. This is the top and the top, bottom edge. It even indicates that's the top there. Okay. So what we're going to do is your flat is your top edge, and the bumpy side is what's going to go to the wrong side of your pant leg. Okay. So this is going to interface or reinforce that pocket opening. Before you interface anything, which you already know, just give like a little press so that your fabric's nice and flat. Okay. It's also going to warm up the fabric for your interfacing. That way you can even, mine's not perfect, but yours is going to be perfect. Okay. That way you're almost like preheating or pre-cooking your piece of interfacing. Do a nicer job than me. Okay. All right. So let's fuse that in place, this ugly muslin. And I'm going to repeat that so it's on the wrong side of the front pant. Okay. You should have already, most likely, marked your, oops, okay, yours is going to be so much better than mine. You've probably already transferred in your dart. Just be sure you don't press over it because you might get rid of your transfer, okay? All right, so I'm going to do that for the opposite front pant leg as well. You'll notice that you've got this J shape. That is the rise. That's the front crotch, okay? And the back has a much deeper one that represents the back rise that goes in the back. Cool. So same with this guy. I'm going to place that interfacing right in here. I'm going to fuse both of these, and then I'm going to run to the machine and I'm going to sew in those darts. Okay, you can pause it. All right, so let's review the pocket flaps before we sew our darts. So for these bad boys, they do indicate 3/8 seam allowance, but 5/8 is a little bit easier for you to sew. So we're gonna make a modification when we put this into the coat. Yeah, but that's your flap. So just be sure you mark your 5/8. That's just past the 1/2 inch. Mine's a little wobbly, but you know, I'm not perfect. So anyway, 5/8. So 5 of these little sections. We talked earlier about sewing this and how, so now I have to use my sewing guide. So you're gonna start with back tacking. And then as we get to the curve, you can turn the stitch length down, okay? You can turn it just below 2, and that gives you a little bit more control with the turn. And I'm just using the knee pedal there as well, so I can turn. Make sure your needle is down into your fabric anytime that you lift your presser foot, okay? And instead of undoing all of your stitching, you can just sew right over top of your old, and then you can pick out your old stuff. And the back tack just locks that in place. That way you don't have to start over from scratch, okay? Wow, that wasn't pretty bad. That wasn't too bad. Anyway, all right, sewing darts, okay? So you can see I've faintly transferred mine in here in yellow, and I've also clipped at the top of my dart legs to give myself a little notch, okay? Little teeny tiny notch. Okay, so vanishing point is the most important part of any of your darts because that is where you're going to come to 0 when you're sewing. Okay, so I'm going to bring these 2 tiny notches together at the top, and then I'm going to place a few pins in the bulk of my dart here. Jordan, can you see? So now I've got vanishing point, which is this pin, and I've got the start of my dart legs up here. So I'm gonna be sure that this area is laying nice and flat. So what I can do is I can press with my fingers, or I can press with the iron. This polyester twill is not very friendly, so bear with me. I'm sure in beginner or intro to sewing, you might have basted this in by hand. If you prefer to do that, by all means. You can just sew it by hand with a hand needle. So the trick with darts, and I'm only using contrasting thread so that you can see it, but we're gonna sew a straight line to this vanishing point and make sure I'm sewing right on top of my trace line. So now that you're an intermediate, we're not gonna back tack at the bottom of the dart. I'm just gonna sew right off my fabric, okay? With my knee pedal, I'm just gonna lift the presser foot and I'm gonna gently turn the hand wheel back and forth. And then with these two ends, I'm gonna tie them in a knot, okay? So what this is gonna eliminate is any bulkiness at the vanishing point of your darts, vanishing point of your sewing line darts. So let me split these two. Okay, so far today we've prepared our pocket flaps for the women's blazer, and you've got 2 darts in the front pant, and I believe you may have 2 darts in the back pant. Don't quote me, we'll have to take a look at it. But once I've knotted that 2 or 3 times, I can just cut away these tails, and then I'll go to the iron and I'll press my dart towards center front, okay? Towards my front rise. And there you have it. Now your pants are prepared, okay? All right, so pressing darts. So after you've sewn the bulk of your dart and you've tied off your ends, this is a sample of the back. So you can see the back rise is much bigger. So you're gonna take a tailor ham, okay? The ham is gonna go against the ironing board. You're gonna place your dart onto the ham. You can place some pins if you wanna be sure that it stays in place, but you'll notice that this is curved and the dart is now giving curve to your pants. So let me grab some pins. And I'm just gonna pin here and here. And I'm gonna warm up your fabric. I know it's kind of goofy, but I'm gonna make it warm on either side of the dart as it's standing straight up. And then I'm gonna turn it over. So you notice that I kind of smoothed out your fabric on either side. Then I'm gonna take the muslin on top of that and press that dart towards center back. So if you're doing the front dart, you'll press it towards front towards front, back towards back. And there you have it. And then you can flip it to the right side. We want to eliminate any of this kind of bubbling effect, but same idea. You can pin your pant to the ham on either side, make it nice and flat, and then just place the muslin over top again. But remember, darts are adding curve to your garment, so you definitely want to be sure that when you press it, you're pressing over a curved surface, okay? That's all. All right, so this is the dart for the neckline of the women's coat, okay? It's imperative that you use the correct size, because once this is sewn, it ends up creating part of the lapel that's gonna turn back on that line, okay? So this is lapel, collar goes in at the top, and the dart creates that fold line, so everything becomes a little bit more dimensional, okay? There are darts in here, so make sure you clip that one. I always clip my dart leg as a notch. It just is a little easier to see, okay? Sorry. But yeah, cut all your notches. Make sure you transfer through that neck dart here. I'm gonna do it on this side because it transferred a little bit more clearly. And here we go. So you'll notice that you've got 2 dart legs, right? I'm gonna suggest that you sew from this side up because the stopping point is in kind of like a weird spot. Once we stop sewing, this continuation becomes that 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, okay? So same as we've done before, I'm gonna find the lighting in here is not forgiving. Find my vanishing point. And I like to just pick up like a single thread there. And then we're gonna fold this back and find either of our legs. And again, if it's just more accurate for you to baste it by hand first, you can just take needle and thread and sew every other like 1/4 inch or so. All right, let's get started. So you can see my self fabric face up in that area. And start this dart. So make sure you don't sew onto your self fabric. Do your back tack, and then we're gonna come right down to our vanishing point, okay? And I'm gonna draw that in pen just so you can see exactly where I'm sewing. And once I get to this vanishing point here, okay, I've just given myself like a cross mark, I'm gonna sew right off my fabric, okay? I know it's not perfect. Listen, it's perfect for me. You're not sewing couch fabric, so embrace it, okay? Then I'm gonna tie that little knot off, and then you've got your lapel dart, okay? So do that for your muslin, yourself. Do your darts for your front and back pant of the women's, and make sure that you press the bulk of the dart towards center front or center back when you're doing the backs. And then for the front pant leg, be sure to interface at the pocket, okay?